Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title, I'm continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. We are now on Season 7, Episode 5. This is Who Am I? Where Ray is having another little identity crisis. He hasn't had one in a couple seasons, so we got to throw another one in there. Just a reminder, before I get too far into it, if you want to support the channel, both the Patreon and PayPal links are down below. And before I get too far onto that, John, if you are watching this, just so you know, I am going to be getting to that last PayPal request you did before the whole moving situation happened pretty soon. So that should be the next movie review I'm doing a video on. And then if you want to put in your next one, do that, and I'll get to that right afterwards. Now, here's what the synopsis on IMDb says about this. Debra and Raymond go out on Saturday, but to different places. Marie thinks that they are having marital problems. Ray did not have fun with his friends. He goes with Debra to a book reading and does not enjoy that either. Now, to get to the first one, it opens with Marie answering the phone at their house because she's, there watching the kids. And she mentions, they both went out, but they both went to different places. I find that odd. And this right here shows Marie's old school marriage mentality of whenever you guys go out on a Saturday night, it always has to be together. Although, when you really think about it, this does kind of either go in one or two directions. Either you can consider this a plot inconsistency, or, and this is the way I look at it a little bit more, it just shows the little contradiction with Marie as a person and a character, to where depending on the context of the situation she'll be going one way, and then if it switches she'll go another. Like when she needs to be by herself, it's fine, but something like this with her son and daughter-in-law not going out together, then it's all of a sudden a problem, which I'm glad the episode does kind of address a little bit, but then she just throws it aside with a comment. Now, to go with this, even though I'm not married, I can understand why every now and then a couple, married, not married, together for years, would need to go their own ways sometimes when they go out. And in this case, we see that because they do have some different interests. Debra really is into her books. Ray is like having fun with the guys, as we've seen countless times by this point in the series. Now, Debra goes to her little book thing, and Ray goes out and has fun with the guys, excuse me. But with this, is like, why would Marie think this is automatically marital issues? And that's just her being Marie, as we've seen so many times at this point in the series. She always has to butt in her nose and automatically assume the worst. I do like that she's like, oh, that's what we call an open marriage. Marie, I think we've already had this conversation where you asked, are you guys swingers? It's just the way she said that in that episode. Are you swingers? But it's like, that's not an open marriage. It's only an open marriage is if you're going your separate ways and having sexual fun. This is not what they're doing. They're going out to have fun with their platonic friends. And of course, when they get back, we can see really that Debra really enjoyed herself. But Ray seems a little, And we find out that he did the usual stuff he did with the guys. It's lost its charm. And he's not enjoying it as much, which Debra seems to really get, yay, because she thinks that it's a sign that Ray is finally growing up and moving out of his, lack of a better way to explain it, shorthand, his adolescence. He is now maturing as an adult, which some people go, considering at this point in his life he is about 40, because, let's do the math real quick. In the first season, Robert was 40, and there's about a 4-year difference between them, so he was 36 in season 1. This is season 7, so he'd be about 43. So some people go, that's quite a bit old to be quote-unquote maturing. That would also depend on any weird things with him, like I mentioned before, just from how I've read into it, that you could kind of look at Ray as maybe being coded with some type of disorder, like maybe ADHD or something, but I don't personally look at it that way, but there is that there. I just view it more as him being a man-child character that was smothered by his mother, but with some of the stuff you can kind of read into it. And if you go in that reading, you can kind of see a little bit, because some of the reading I've seen, and it does delay a little bit, even though personally I'm like, I don't see it too much. Maybe a little bit into the 20s, but into your 40s, not. That's a little delayed. That's more than a little delayed. That's extremely delayed. But let Debra have her fantasy about him becoming a mature adult. Well, Debra does talk Ray into going to the book thing with her the next week, because it's half of the lecture, so it's another lecture. And the guy doing the lecture, I didn't actually type out actual notes for this one, so I'm gonna have to look at the thing. But here he is. It was J.G. Hertzler who played Dr. Everett Mutts. Now, some of you are gonna recognize that name. And it's one of those things that when I looked at him, I'm like, I did not recognize him. But that's because I guess, looks like he's using his normal voice and he has facial hair. But J.G. Hertzler is better known as playing General Martok on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So we have another actor from Deep Space Nine making an appearance on Everybody Loves Raymond. Because remember, back in the first season, we had a Klingon actress make an appearance, but here we got another Klingon actor making an appearance. Main difference is JG was a prominent Klingon that appeared constantly throughout the series, whereas the Klingon actress from season 1, I think, was only in 2 episodes. And here, of course, he's got the eye patch too, so a little different. And his lecture, it goes well. He's describing everything he sees, and if you are really into exploration and making contact with indigenous cultures, it looks like it'd be a fun and engaging lecture. But, as you can probably already tell where I'm going from this, my constant watchers, Ray is neither of those things, and he falls asleep, much to Debra's annoyance, and she hits him to wake him up in the eye. And of course Ray's like, oh, you hit me right in the eye, which leads to the most obvious joke you can do in that situation, with Muntz looking at him like. Ray doesn't enjoy that. And I just love when Debra and Ray get home and Ray's explaining how the night did not go well to Marie. She automatically assumes that the thing to the eye was the doctor. And I just love the way she looks at him and goes, so he hit you? Well, of course he could have done that. He's a Klingon. Of course he'll resort to that and then spit in Ray's face and call him a Pratak. That'd be a good little blooper. That'd been funny if that was on the blooper reel, but it isn't. So Ray's not allowed there. So he goes out with his dad to the lodge, and they end up in the steam room. They're having a little conversation. Ray's seeming to enjoy himself. Now, I think we can all see where this is going. It's not mainly the steam room, but the steam room does help. You go into a steam room or a sauna, you're always going to feel refreshed when you come out, even if you're in a depressed state when you go in. But the main reason is the fact that he's the center of attention. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Ray, good, yeah, I got that. And of course, this scene includes a cameo by Ray's real-life father, Albert Romano, who plays Frank's buddy Albert. Nice to see him in there. So he always gets some good lines. I knew him when he was just gassy. At least you got up. And of course, into this season, he's going to have a little bit more prominent thing and is involved in one of my favorite little blooper moments, which I'll address when we get to that episode. Now, Ray does contemplate joining the lodge with all this, and he does eventually get talked down to it by Debra and them. Is Debra thinking, this is not what I meant when I thought you were maturing. So, similar but different conflict from his midlife crisis episode. And here you could say he's having another little bit of a midlife crisis, but it's in a different context. Whereas that one, it was because he was an inch short, and he's like, oh my god, I'm shrinking. And thinking the whole death thing and not handling the midlife crisis right. This one is more like, I used to enjoy it, which I do understand, because when you have a hobby that you do for so long and then you kind of get with it, you don't know what to do after that. And of course things get settled and it goes to its typical conclusion you'd expect with this type of scenario. And all around, this is a very fun episode. Whether I'd put it in the top of the season, I don't know yet. We're going to see how the rest of the season plays. I'll say that the epilogue for this episode is what you would expect with the character of Robert. He gets invited to the lodge, and he says a comment that somebody takes wrong, and he gets asked to leave. Poor Robert can't catch a break because everybody loves Raymond. Sorry about that. I'm just scanning down to see the writer. This is written by David Regal, which that name is not sounding familiar off the top of my head, so I'm thinking it might be one of the people who was in the room just occasionally, or probably one of those ones that they have to bring on randomly a couple times a season to meet the guild requirements. Alright, I'm trying to bring up what he's written for, but it was lagging. Let's see what he wrote for. Living with Fran. He did 9 episodes of the Rugrats. He was a punch-up writer on Rugrats Goes Wild. He did additional material for the last of the Ronald McDonald's Wacky Adventure ones, which hard to believe that last one was 20 years ago now. Damn. The Monster of McDonald Land Lock, which is one that was a very limited release. On this, he did 2 episodes of Raymond, and the other one was actually a good one. It was the canister from season 5, so he's good at writing these characters, even though he only did 2 episodes. Shame. Would have been interesting to see him do more. And of course, in addition to our usual cast, of course, we got John and there's Gianni. We got Victor Rader Wexler as Stan, Len Lesser as Garvin, Tom McGowan as Bernie, and Maggie Wheeler as Linda. And they do good for what they got to do in there. There's not really much else to talk about this episode. I mean, covered all the basic notes. And I'm sorry if I don't got more. It's been a couple weeks since I watched this one. Time constraints and all that, getting around to recording. So I'm sorry it's going up later than normal, too. Like I said earlier, all in all, it's a pretty fun episode. Definitely one that should not be on the skip list. It'll probably end up being on my VHS list when I do that video near the end of all this. Now, the next one is an episode that I've always enjoyed, and it'll definitely end up on the top of the season list unless something goes awry. Although there's one part of it I know I'm already going to be touching on in an interesting manner. And of course, the next episode is going to be Robert Needs Money. Till then, guys.